Welcome everybody to the follow-up of the Pure Energy Healing Tarot course. It's a pleasure to be able to be here today. It's an honor that you are all here, and I feel really, really good. I feel really happy to be able to share my life's work, to be able to help you a little bit, give you food for thought, the kind of food that we all need through our moments of fear, because there's so much fear in the world. Most of us really doubt our gift. Most of us really doubt. And we actually fear when we've given readings. We actually fear when we look at our own cards. And there's times that we will, all of us, look at one card, and when we're not seeing what we want to see, we'll turn over another one and another one. And before you know it, you realize it's meaningless. It has no validity. It has no power at all, because we weren't happy with what we saw. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is the first thing that I saw with readings. I was at an event, and it was the Mind, Body and Spirit event. And there were about 23, 24, maybe 25 really good psychics in the room. And I sat in my seat and I observed a certain number of people that started going from one psychic to another. So the jump from one to another. And I was finding this fascinating, why this was happening. I found it fascinating. And eventually that person would come to me, and I would feel a bit nervous and I'd feel a bit confused, because I saw her going to every single psychic. And as your mind will work, are they testing us? Are they trying to see who's the best psychic? It didn't take long thereafter that I came to the self-realization that there are certain people who go to psychics and all they're interested in is listening for what they're wanting to hear. And this is something that we need to be aware of. And there's nothing you can do about that. The power is in their own hands. You can't really change their mindset, especially when they have an agenda and they want a solution, and their solution only. So they're not looking for other solutions. They're not looking for maybe factors that they would never factor in to the equation. If there's a card that comes up, which could be a sword, the swords to me are finding solutions. That's all they mean to me. They have no power over me to an issue, because any fool can see an issue, but it takes a genius. It takes somebody who's willing to look deep and work hard to find solutions. So if you ask me, well, what would you want me to be, Mark? I would say, be the finder of the problems. And that is vital, that we change the way we think, the way we believe the cards are meant to speak to us. Well, cards are just cards. These tarot cards are just tarot cards. They're pieces of paper with information. Don't let the situation of your client change your understanding, your path, your journey. Don't let your client start telling you what you have to say. In fact, there's times when your client will insist that you change their future. This is true. This happens. They're bullies and they're waiting for you to change it. Tell me it's going to be okay. Well, that's not how it works. Tell me when I'm going to be rich. Tell me when I'm going to meet a partner. Now, solutions are different. When you look upon the cards as, I am using these cards not out of ego. I'm not using these cards to show how amazing I am because I know how many cats you've got. I'm using these cards because I want my client not only to feel better, which is part of it for sure, but that's not all of it. And many psychics use that to just try and make their client happy. And you know as well as I do, to make somebody happy, you normally want to give them all the answers to what they want to hear. So to cut that section out where we don't want them to be upset, we have to now become savvy. We have to become smart. We have to figure out, how do we talk to our client in a way that helps them see that what they need to look for in their future, what they need to strengthen in their mind, body, and spirit. We have to do it in a way that doesn't cause harm, that doesn't upset them, that doesn't make them fearful, that doesn't make them think that they can't. So what is a tarot reader? A tarot reader is somebody who takes your hand in the reading. You both jump into a labyrinth right in the middle, and you walk together and you figure out a way out of the labyrinth in a way that your client doesn't feel fearful or start having a panic attack or start saying to you, we're never going to get out of here. This is never going to happen. It's never going to work. So being a tarot reader is like the first time you pass your test and you go into a car. The first time you're on your own. So you can quite clearly see that you've got your gear stick and you've got your mirror and you've got your throttle and your brakes and everything else in the car, all the switches, they're all there. And you start your reading, you switch the engine on, you lay your cards out. And then you start to drive and you start looking at the cards and you start looking in the mirror and you start looking at all the traffic. You start sharing your truth. You start learning from everything that you see on the roads. You're learning about how to use the clutch and you're learning how to use the indicator and you're learning about how to lay the cards out and how to figure out what means what. And as time goes on, the more you do this, the more you understand your cards like you understand the car. And eventually the cards will be second nature, not even a thought. Except this time the car becomes magical because this time you're getting used to your cards and now you know it. There's no fear, there's no worry, there's confidence. And in that confidence, your car starts to become magical and new buttons appear and new things start to happen in the car. Just like your cards, they start becoming more magical and more powerful. And it's never ending. You take one card and what you think you see in this card to one client, you can finish the reading and then your next client comes and you can pick that card up and it magically changes. It becomes something completely different from the last reading. And that's a beautiful thing. That is a sure way of knowing you're channeling. Now, a lot of people are card readers. A lot of people are tarot readers. But what I want for you is to become something more than that. So to rely on a tarot card with a meaning, or one meaning, limits you. I want you to be in that car and for it to turn into a magical car and for it to fly, for it to disappear and then reappear. I want you to understand that you're not a tarot reader, that you've gone beyond that. You've not limited yourself to what this card means. So when you ask me, what does this card mean? I say to you, right back, what does it mean to you right now? And you can look at this card and you can say, well, hang on. You can look at this card and say, well, there's a sword and there's sparks and there's dark clouds. And I can say, wow, this is amazing. The sword is the power. Look at the power it gives off. The clouds are now leaving. The clouds are dispersing. The sword is the answer. And then I can look at it again and see a beautiful landscape at the bottom. And I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 trees at either side. And now I see the sword looking a bit different because I'm just focused on this section here. And all of a sudden now it doesn't look like a sword anymore. It looks completely different. And I'm not looking at the whole thing. I'm now looking deeper into the cards that are showing me mountains that I've never seen before. Now it's showing me today mountains filled with snow. I've had these cards for over 15 years. I've never seen them mountains in the background before. First time I've seen them. What I'm trying to say is that these cards are extremely special. However, how you are feeling at any given moment makes the cards even more special. If you're down, if you're sad, if you're upset, if you're physically not well, when you look at a card, you can't go deep into the card because your physical, spiritual, and emotional are out of balance. But if you feed yourself healthy, if you look after yourself, if you try and find joy in your life, then you become a greater channeler. So the cards become even more powerful. So that is something that many readers don't see and don't understand. So you are that car, that magical car that creates new buttons and new magic in that car. And the more you look after the car, the more you become more powerful in so many ways. Or you're just a card reader. So here's the things that I used to do to help me become a more powerful car, a more magical car. The first thing I would do is take oils before I start a reading. So I would use one of my oils that I had. Today, I found myself taking awakening oil and Moldavite oil. And what I would do with that to begin with is I would open the oils and take a few drops and I don't mind mixing my oils neither. So I take them both and put them here, rub together, breathe, hold the breath for a few seconds, and then breathe out. I'd do that 4 or 5 times. And then I'd rub my third eye like this. And then I would simply say, help me see the truth. Behind my ears, help me hear the truth. Throat, help me speak the truth. And my heart, help me feel the truth. Relaxation using certain oils stimulate the physical, which then helps you become heightenedly aware of situations. By saying those words, I am reinforcing what I would like to achieve from this moment, just like having a thought in your mind. From that point on, I would take a crystal. So today I have a crystal which is a perfect amplifier. This crystal is called Herkimer diamond. So I would put that very close by. I decided to choose this one today because it was close by and felt right. So this is a tektite. So I put it somewhere else, very close by. So I have certain energy that is working throughout the reading. Another good thing to do is have a few crystals with you. And if you've got the opportunity to be by your client one-to-one, then hold a certain crystal as a third crystal. So for instance, I'll hold this one in my hand as I'm preparing. And then I would put this crystal in my client's hand and just say, hold this. That way they're receiving some good energy from me. It's calming them down. It's making, because it can be a nerve-wracking feeling going for a psychic reading. And if you can smile and make light of this 1 hour interaction or 30 minutes, then you're going to put your client at ease and you're going to feel that ease. And that's going to make the reading far better. One of the things that I always used to do is keep my head down or my eyes closed when I was reading. And the reason for that is I don't want to look at my client and then start to have thoughts about, is this going well? Isn't it going well? Am I doing the right thing, saying the right thing? No, all of that is nonsense. That is fear from the brain. And you want to eliminate that. You don't want to even go there. There was a time that I reminded myself, which was stop talking to your client in the sense of wanting reassurance. At the beginning, I used to say something, is this right? No. Don't need to say that. Read what you see, and that's it. One of the most powerful ways to read, in my opinion, is saying to your client, it's a beautiful day today. I'm so pleased and honored to be able to read for you. I really am. And thank you for trusting in me. What I'm about to do is just see what I see within the cards and read to you what I see. And afterwards, when we're finished, if there's anything that resonated, anything that you were unsure about, I am really happy to go into more detail. That way, they just simply listen. And sometimes that works really well. So the oils, the crystals are fantastic. One of the things you can't always do is go to somebody's house and prepare it. And sage is fantastic, but also a nice stick, a cleansing stick, while you're doing the reading is beautiful, but not too close, because you don't want it going in your face and in your eyes or your clients. But to prepare your room, if you have a room, is an amazing thing to do, because I believe that spirit can come forward much easier and give us information. And sometimes we can attune not only to what we see as a universal gift of seeing, sight, the future, the past, the present, but also we can be gifted when our room's cleansed and cleared with the presence of spirit. And that's always a beautiful thing. How do you know the difference? Well, that takes time, and it takes experience. There's some moments you just know, but you can't explain. So for me to try and explain this to you in words is impossible, because the feelings are, it's really hard to explain. So how to select a card? It's a great question, how to select a card. I infuriated my first mentor who taught me, who laid these cards in my hand. She was infuriated because I didn't ask my client to shuffle the cards. She was infuriated because she believed that if a client shuffled their cards, they put their energy into it. Well, I just didn't need to do that. Didn't feel like I needed to do it. And over time, when I taught here with groups of 3 or 4 or 5 people, I'd look at them and say, take the cards. How do you feel? Do you want to give them to your client to shuffle, or do you want to keep them in your own hands and just shuffle yourself? What feels right? Some would say, oh, there's certain times I want to give my cards to my clients to shuffle, and sometimes I just want to shuffle them. And I'd say, you see, really all of that is comfort, is making you feel more powerful, because whatever you feel is right in that moment is normally right in the sense that it makes you feel better. Now, here's the thing. If you just say, you're not touching my cards, and somebody grabs your cards, then you are going to be a pretty poor reader for that person, because you've already brought a negative aspect into it. So one thing I used to do is I used to always say, whatever happens is exactly as it should be with the cards. I will not get angry. Some people, don't touch my crystal. Don't touch my crystals. You know what? Here, touch my crystal. Enjoy it. Doesn't give negative energy. You can't give it negative energy. Here, let it do its work. I'm a healer. I'm kind. I'm caring. Here, take it. You want to mix the cards, you mix them. Now, there is a point where you would say to yourself, well, and I've done this many a times, who's doing the reading, me or you? Because I had a lot of psychics and people who use the cards for many years, and some people get infuriated by that as well. I used to laugh and say, well, listen, I don't mind, you're paying me. You're paying me 120 euros to do this reading. You've taken my cards and now you're laying them out and telling me what they are. It's great. I'm getting paid for you to share your lesson with me. Fabulous. Do that. So I got so many memories of psychics wanting to show their gift to me, and I would never get upset. I just let them do whatever they wanted to do. I could see it was filled with ego, and they wanted to show me their gift and all that, and which was lovely, and they would pay me for it. That's okay. I wasn't upset. I wasn't filled with ego. I didn't care. If I was filled with ego, I'd be angry and saying, stop it. You're meant to be listening to me. But I used to laugh. I would giggle. Who's giving the reading here? Me or you? It's brilliant. I love it. Yeah, continue. Fantastic. Never get upset about it. Never get upset. Let them be. And then 15, 20 minutes later, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm sorry, please go on. No problem. You want to continue, you crack on. So that was interesting. Going back to the sword and finding solutions. Going back to that person walking round the room, and she now comes to me and sits down. So I start turning the cards over, and I'm starting looking at the cards and realizing there's an issue here. And it's an issue with her mother-in-law. And let's say that in her mind, the mother-in-law is, I don't know, a lizard. She thinks she's a lizard from another planet. And she's waiting for me to say she's a lizard from another planet. She's not a good woman. There's something wrong with her and she's evil. But hang on, let's just stop for a minute. So we know that there's an issue here. And we know now that we have to find a solution. So we start looking at the mother-in-law, and we find that we're trying now to help our clients see. So we start by saying that your mother-in-law's parents came together out of a situation that was dire, it was terrible. And yes, a lizard did appear. And your mother-in-law was born. But your mother-in-law knows that she's part lizard because of her dad. And she cries every night. She hates herself. She hates what she is. In fact, looking at the cards, it quite clearly shows that she really is in a bad place and she doesn't know what to do. And clearly she's not wanting to live. And there's many a times that she's tried to take her life and she doesn't know how to feel properly. And she just does not know what to do. And whatever comes out of her mouth is just, she cries about it most nights. I think what I'm trying to say, and I don't know whether the lizard analogy is any good, but what I'm trying to say is that no matter how bad a situation is and how that woman running round trying to find out the answer to what she wants, and that answer is that her mother-in-law's horrible, and please tell me she's horrible, that we as true readers, as real healers, because we're not really readers, we're healers in just a different aspect of spirituality, of enlightenment and awareness. We try to make sense of any situation in a way that doesn't cause your client to walk away feeling angry, bitter, twisted, resentful, jealous, or egoistic, and I told you so, and I'm right. So it has to be, in my humble opinion, the foundation of a true reader is to find a solution. And the solution is always positive. It's always enlightening. And there's always a resolution to our work. And we may not find it today. We may not find it tomorrow or the week after or the month after. But if we keep working on that foundation, that I am here to find solutions, then to answer a question, if we are always where we are meant to be, why is the tarot reading necessary? I remember ringing up Shirley, who was one of my spiritual mentors, and I was angry. I was angry. My wife then and I wanted to have another baby. And it failed. We had some sperm saved and we tried to do it through the test tube and all of that. And it failed. It was about 3,000 euros. And we just didn't have that kind of money to do it again. And if we were going to borrow the money. So now there was more invested. This was an investment now. So we wanted to know the outcome. This was at the very beginning of my work. And I remember ringing her up. And I said, Shirley, if we do this, are we going to have a baby? Now, one thing I learned from her answer, which infuriated me, was one of two things. It infuriated me because she didn't give me an answer. There wasn't a yes or a no. And looking back now, I realized that she was being almost kind. If you see in the cards, like Shirley saw, that the outcome of that situation was going to be a no, how would you be as a healer? How would you be as a reader? How would you present the most important thing to somebody who was desperate to have another child with his wife? How would you put that forward? You see, to me, she says, I can't see that. There is nothing I can see. So I can't say either way. Did she see? I think she probably did deep down. Now, here's the thing with this. There are certain circumstances that you have to be aware of. Let's take that circumstance as a young man who has contacted you for a reading and says to you, are we going to have a baby? Knowing that we're just about to invest 3,000 euros in doing this. They don't know the circumstance. It's just a general question asked. If you turn the cards over and you decided to say, yes, and the outcome for me was a no, then you got it wrong, right? Now, if you turn the cards over and say no, they're going to spend the rest of their life wondering, should they have done it or not? To the point that they could possibly blame you for not having a child because you told them not to do it. So the point is, are we here to interfere with people's lives? And the next point is, how do we feel when somebody gets angry with us because we don't give them the answer they want to hear or don't want to hear? So my point being today is that you are not a tarot reader. You are here to help somebody take their hand when that question is asked jump into the labyrinth and walk together to try and find a solution to something that could or couldn't happen. Are we not always on our path? Absolutely. So then why use the cards? I use this as a prime example, and I've used it. I don't know if I've used it in the last course, but Adam Sachs is, or was, a dear friend of mine. We don't speak too much these days. And Adam is a clothes designer. And I read for him, and he, on a night when he used to go back home after work, I'd read for him, and I look down at my cards and I'm saying, I see a brand new car, or what looks like a brand new car. It could even be secondhand, but it looks like kind of brand new, looks fancy, looks black. He looked confused. And I said, but hang on, just be a little bit careful of this car, right? Be a little bit careful, because it looks like there's something not working on the car and it could be a bit dangerous. So before you drive it, please take it in and have it serviced. A few months went by and Adam said, you're not going to believe this. And I said, what? He said, I bought a new Porsche and it was like brand new. He says, but before I drove it, I took it into the garage, and the garage told him that the pipes, the brake pipes, had corroded and that he could have killed himself. Why is the tarot necessary? Are we not always on our path? So does that answer the question? Are we not always protected? Well, I would say to you, maybe we are the protection. Maybe somebody across the road who's walking their dog, who says something to you, is their protection. Isn't all the signs in the world a protection at some point? How many people listen to that protection is a different matter. But in my humble opinion, what we do as readers, I believe we are there on behalf of the spirit world. I believe that people come to us because we have a sort of unique way to interpret the cards that nobody else does. And what our mind has digested over the past, what our experience has been over the past, has led spirit world to say, okay, if I give Mark a piece of information, or Daniela or Alan a piece of information, which will be in the cards that they will see and relate to through their experience, then they're the perfect person that I need to help me, to help my family in spirit. Are we interfering with their path? Another good question. Depends how you read. Depends what your message is and how you interpret that message, how far your ego kicks in. So to find solutions is very different than always being right and proving yourself right all the time. I could be wrong. Yeah, but you're a reader. I'm paying all this money and you're telling me you could be wrong? Absolutely. Well, why am I paying for this reading? Because you've been brought here. I didn't bring you here. I didn't ask you to come. I didn't knock on your door saying you need a reading. So there's something in that that has to be honored. Okay, I don't know why you're here. I'm going to look in the cards, and whatever information I receive from the spirit world and what I've learned in my understanding of life may be relevant to your journey right now. And maybe that is the protection. And that is why we're always protected and always walking the path to your door for this moment. I hope that answers those questions. I'm not being critical. I know you're not. It's a core issue with me, and it was with me too. And only now I can speak to you in these words and the way I know deep down in my heart that my experience has led me to understand that these cards here, they're not toys. They are powerful, powerful tools that help us along a journey. Also, there's a flip side to that. And that is, how do I use the cards knowing that they're a powerful tool and still feel comfortable when I use them? Because now Mark's just said they're powerful. There are ways to read the cards for your best friends in a way that is filled with joy and happiness. They can be a fun way to help you along your journey of life. They really can. One of the ways that I used to love teaching the cards is to ask your friend, anybody, to write somebody they know name on a piece of paper. So, Nico, okay, you don't tell them, say, don't tell me what name is on that paper. If it makes you feel comfortable, just say, I'd like it to be a woman, because then you're not thinking, oh, I'm going to make a mistake. There's a man and a woman. Okay, so just make it a little bit easier for you to start with and just say, just think of a man, one man, and write his name on. Okay, so it's here. Remember, you do it in a light-hearted way. You don't even know who this person is. You put that piece of paper down, you take your cards and you spread the cards as you would. I spread my cards this way down. So 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. And then after I've put 6 cards down, 3 on top, 3 on below, I then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, till all the cards are all down on the 6 decks. On those 6 decks, what I do is I just randomly choose one deck, 2, 3, put that down, and then choose the other 3 and put them down. So I've got 2 half decks at the side, like that. Okay, so like that. That's how I do the split. That's how I mix them. Some people will shuffle, or some people will hand the cards over for other people to shuffle. I honestly mean this from the bottom of my heart. There is no wrong way to shuffle cards. So now I've shuffled the cards, you're going to ask me, which pile am I going to start the reading with this piece of paper with the guy's name called Nico? I don't know until I start feeling, and I go with a feeling and I just pick a card. So I'm going to go here. So I pick this card. So I see this card and I start reading for this man, which now makes sense because the card I've picked is a man and there's a man, but you feel good because you know it's a man. You don't feel like you're being tested, but the cards would tell you anyway. So it's a man, and the man's on a trial and he's gone through a lot of pain and suffering, but he's actually becoming stronger and more powerful. And he's starting to see himself and his ego is dropping and he's a strong and powerful person. All of these things make sense to my son. That's how I would start a reading, by enjoying myself reading for somebody else. And in fact, if you've ever been here to the academy, my most favorite moment is when I do this, and then halfway through the day, if it's John sat here and Wendy sat there, I write somebody's name on and put it in front of John and say, okay, John, this is a man that is a friend of mine. Please read for him. So John starts reading for somebody who he doesn't know and starts saying, well, this person is lacking of confidence. He's got a good heart. He's got a bit of a temper. He doesn't seem to be happy with his wife. And the reason why he's not happy with his wife is because he's not happy with his path. He's got to start to love himself more, blah, 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 blah. And it goes on for half an hour nearly. And when he finished, I said, please open and see who that friend is for me. So he looks confused and he opens it up and he says, this is you. This is you, John. And he stops. Everybody's silent. And for 5 minutes, or even 10 minutes after the tears, a sudden realization hits him. You've got to understand that when you're reading for somebody that you don't know you're reading for, and then you find out you've just read for yourself, is probably the most profound reading in the world for you. But you can't do that, because now I've told you that you're reading for yourself. But you can get 4 or 5 pieces of paper and write different people down and yourself. So you write your name as well, but then you mix them all and then you go through one at a time and then open the cards. And that is another way of doing it. But it's kind of a shock energy when they don't realize that their name is on there and they've just read for them. You can't lie to yourself, guys. There's no lying to yourself, because you've just read for yourself. You've just said what you've said to yourself. It's the most powerful 5 minutes or 10 minutes reading of your life. Because you've got to have to accept it. Because if you don't, then you realize that you're lying to yourself if you don't. So it's really brilliant. And one day when you become teachers, you'll hold that in your head. And I say this to all of you, and as well, Daniela, I would say it to you if you're still here. It's time you start teaching tarot, because you'll make an amazing tarot teacher. And I know I don't want to talk about finances and stuff. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But giving a reading to one person is like feeding somebody a fish. They'll always come back again. But if you teach somebody how to catch fish, they never need you again. So if you do this interactive and you start teaching people and saying, okay, guys, I'm starting a tarot course. It's a tenner. It's 20 euros. It's 20 pounds. It's 30 pounds. Okay. There's a lot of people who want to learn tarot because they want to catch the fish themselves. They want to know how to understand life and how to maneuver through life. So now you've got 10 or 20 people on, and you might do it for 6 weeks and they're paying 20 a week, and you've got 20 people. Now you've got 1 hour session that has just made you more money than what you could have done one-to-ones. And I actually think that's fantastic. I've realized now that teaching is probably one of the most powerful things we can do to help people become their own mentor and teacher. So I would encourage you all to think about that for your near future. Has the cards ever failed me? I failed the cards. I'll repeat this. I failed the cards because I failed myself. I didn't do what I should have done. I used my ego. I didn't follow through by being a more savvy. You've got to use your mind as well. You've got to use what you've learned. Your experience takes you to the reading as well. There is a dual energy of spirit, the universe, but also what you've experienced to be able to help with readings. These are factors that are so important. So important. I have also been asked by a person that I have read for if they could pick up their own card. I said yes, and it was a good reading. At the moment, I have no set routine, as long-term shuffling may well ruin the cards. What ruins the cards? What will ruin these cards? How I shuffle them. The cards are just cards. Everything that you do in a session should make you comfortable. Anything that doesn't make you comfortable is going to cause an issue because your brain kicks in. I'll say this again. My best readings were the times that I had no ego and I wasn't there to prove anything. This idea of a reading when people come to you is that you have to prove yourself. Is that what holds us back? Don't come to me if you want me to prove anything. I'm not here to prove anything. I tell you what I will do. I'll do my best. I'll just see what it says. I'll see what it says. I'll just see what it says. I'm happy to show you what I see. If it makes any sense, I'm really happy about that. Well, that didn't make any sense, Mark. What part was that? Well, the part that you said that my brother did so-and-so. Well, let's have a look at that, shall we? So I turn over a few more cards and we'll look at it in more depth. Do never be scared of looking deep into things. Don't be frightened of it. Look at it. Don't be frightened of saying, I don't know, I can't see. Sometimes you won't be able to see. Sometimes it's a deliberate thing. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Sometimes if we say too much, we get a slap across the face when we meet back up in the spirit world. And why did you say too much? Because you, in your brain, pushed. I don't know, I don't see that. You have to be as comfortable saying, I don't see anything there. And you know, people respect that. You know, when people have all the answers for everything, you know, sometimes you think, you know what, I'm not sure about this. And I've said this before. I've been to many talk radio shows. I've been on many conferences and I don't know. What's wrong with saying I don't know? But you're a psychic. You're meant to know. No, I catch glimpses in the cards and sometimes the cards read really accurate. Sometimes they make no sense at all. Does that make you wrong? Does it make you wrong? Does it make you wrong if you don't see something or you don't understand it? Maybe there's something in this. Maybe that we're all on our right path. Maybe, you know, everything is as it should be. So maybe there's something there that's not for us to understand or know at that point. Maybe, as I used to say, that this reading is what I'm looking at is for the next 6 months. This reading might be looking at the next year. So if you come back in a year, then we might see what we didn't see now, which makes sense. Sometimes we see 5 years ahead. Sometimes we see 10 years ahead. But we don't always know what time and space is. So we can see the future or we see the past. The intention of a card is one thing, but flow is another. So I think sometimes intention is good. So, okay, Mark, tell me my past, my present, my future. Okay. So the intention sometimes is good because you feel comfortable with that. But my flow was not intention. It was just, let's see what we get. And I turn the cards over and start to read. So I haven't done this for a while. Example. I'm going to read for you now. I don't know what I'm going to read. I don't know what I'm going to say. I'm not setting any intention. I'm just going to read. I'm going to mix my cards as I'm speaking to you with no intention. I'm just, the intention is make sure the card sits on that pile. Oh, one card's turned over accidentally. Oh, look. What does that mean? It means that you're a little bit lost, and one day you'd like to move, but you can't move at the moment. You've got a lot of things on your mind, where I should be, what I should I go, should I stay? So if I'm reading for you and that turns over, it might have relevance, but it might have no relevance at all. So if a card flips over, I feel and flow. So if I start speaking about the card, then it has relevance. But if I don't feel anything and it's turned over, and my client says, oh, that card just turned over. Oh, that card just fell on the floor. Isn't it for me? No, card just fell on the floor today. It just fell out of my hands. Oh, yeah, sometimes it happens. As we walk a path of being a seer of the future, there will always be eyes. There will always be people turning their head, looking at you, judging you. There'll always be people who are jealous. Deep down, the jealousy is normally because they don't feel they have the gift, and so they use and abuse. They mock, they belittle. Why I say this is because there may be times ahead that you're challenged with this situation, and that may hold you back. You may look at your life and say to yourself, is this really the life that will bring me to love, happiness, joy? Should I just throw them away and just become normal? Do something else? Will I ever have a wedding ring on my finger, or will life ever give me joy and happiness? I think being a reader is only part of your journey. And it surely is nothing to do with taking that moment of your life, whether it's 1 year or 10 years or 20 years, and saying, this is who I am, because it's not. As the car takes you from A to B, as your washing machine cleans your clothes and your cooker warms your food, then so too are your cards. Your cards are simply a tool that help you along a journey. It is only your belief in the cards that creates this illusion that they are something and you are something special. It is only your illusion that these cards may cause your life more pain and suffering. And maybe it's not something that you should do, and maybe I should do something else. It's merely part of your journey. Not to be taken too serious, not to be taken too lightly, but it's just part, an extension of who you are. It's just part of the journey. As I see mountains ahead, I see times that are challenging. I also see a lot of people who look at you and not only admire you, that kind of think you're special in many ways. So there's always the yin and yang, the good and bad. And like somebody once said to me when I was so upset, Mark, you're listening to the wrong people. So my message to you today is what you're doing is simply part of a journey. Nobody asked you to do it. Nobody forced you to do it. But you still did it. Why? Because it felt right. And at times you cannot deny the fact that when you read for people, when you read for yourself, sometimes, just sometimes, there are no words to the power and healing of that moment. And actually, did it mean anything after all? Well, in the moment it did. Did the person feel better? Yes, they did. Have you ever saved a life from somebody walking away feeling better? Probably. So intention in that sense is great. Find the solution. Reading cards like this, the way I read them is what I see to begin with. And then I follow on with what I feel. Therefore, if I am fit and healthy, if my room is well, if my crystals are working for me because I chose them and they feel right, if my oils are on me, then the flow is natural. It's easy. And what you see is far more deeper than just getting a little book out saying, okay, I got 4 of wands. What does it say in the book? No, that's not it. That's why I've never, ever written a book to accompany cards. Feel them. Feel the cards. Feel them. And once you feel them, once you get in that car and drive it, they become part of your life. They become a normal part of everyday life. How many times do I read these cards for myself in a day, in a week, in a year? The last year I've probably read for myself maybe twice. How many times have I read for situations that may be challenging? So being honest, do I use the cards if I employ somebody? Somebody's coming to work for me? Yes, I do. Now, here's an interesting point. How powerful are you when you read the cards for yourself? Because the message here that we are all on our path and we don't need the cards because it is as it should be is absolutely correct. But here's another scenario. What if you meet somebody and it may be a relationship, whether it's a business relationship or a personal relationship, even a sexual relationship, maybe long-term relationship, and you pick a card and you turn it over, okay? Let's just say that this card is going to bring a lot of learning experience, and maybe I'm going to get this lady pregnant. And let's say we become very attuned to each other after 8 months. And then let's say after another 5 months, our spirits start to feel trapped and we start to think about other things. And then we feel that the person that we loved is now becoming a little bit more judgmental. And let's say that my path now has changed and I'm starting to want something else. I want to be my own guide and teacher, and I want to be on my own. And let's say it's going to be very challenging, and we're all going to feel, both of us are going to feel terrible, and we're going to have an empty space in our heart. Okay, so now I know that I have an outcome. I have a choice now. Do I continue the path with this person that I know that we have a good time with for 8 months, and then the next 5 months it's going to be a bit challenging, and maybe there's a baby there, and then afterwards I go off on my own because I need to find my journey? If the journey, what was said here by this lovely soul, that everything as it should be, you know, why the tarot reading is necessary? Well, it's a great question. And to answer that question is within these cards. I have a choice. I've seen the future in the cards. Is the outcome more important than the actual journey? Was the journey meant to be? Is the journey going to be? Well, the journey is going to be whatever it's going to be. Isn't the cards just a confirmation? Isn't the cards saying, well, it could happen, it couldn't happen. It may happen, it may not. There are 1,000 factors to anything that you would do and say when you do a reading. Nothing is set in stone. Any given path can change at any given moment. So let's say right now I make the decision. Do I go with this woman or do I not go with this woman? Isn't that in itself powerful? Because I make the decision. I have a choice. Whether the choice is right or wrong is irrelevant. We're talking about here and now. I've come for a reading. This woman's just told me about what could happen in this relationship. So let's go a bit deeper then. Let's go back to this pregnant bit. This pregnancy here was a mistake. Why was it a mistake? Well, I can see there's something over her eyes, so she didn't see it coming. So it was very natural. It just happened. Okay, let's get deeper into that. Is it a boy or a girl? It's a girl. It's the first girl. Okay. Am I going to love her? I'm going to love her to bits. She's beautiful. What's she going to do for my life? She's just going to bring so much joy and happiness, and I'm going to just be so joyful over a child. So now do you see how things are changing slightly? Now, all of a sudden, it's not just a relationship and then it ends. Now it's factoring something completely different. That there's a little baby coming into my life who's going to be a girl who's going to change my life forever. So again, going back to the first point, what was the point in reading for it? Well, now I'm not just reading. I'm going into depth. I'm looking into things deeper. I'm looking into things that now I'm thinking a little bit different. It's no longer, oh, forget it. She's going to get pregnant and that's it. Hang on a minute. Let's just have a look at it. So now I understand, okay, well, this could be a beautiful thing. And I know that the outcome might be bad. Okay, well, let's have a look. Where does it get bad? Let's have a look where it gets bad in 13 months. So why does it get bad? It gets bad because you like somebody else. There's another woman that's come into your life. Oh, so that means that I've got a choice between two women. Absolutely. Do you remember we said it was, doesn't matter. I think it was 8 months after the 8 months, but it doesn't matter. It normally fits in well. But you can see, where are they from? Well, there's a flag behind them. I can see a flag. Okay, so they come from another country, yeah. Are they beautiful? Both beautiful. Beautiful woman that I'm with, and somebody else is beautiful. They're both beautiful. What can I do? what path do I take with this? Or, is there something you can show me? Something that I need to know? Is there something I can learn from at this point where I'm sat down, knowing that there's another woman that's going to come into my life? Sure, let's look. Yeah, it's going to bring happiness. It's going to bring joy. This other person's going to bring me joy. If I stay with the original lady that I had a baby with, what will that bring? Difficult, challenging times. It's going to be really tough. It's not going to be easy. Probably the reason why somebody else came into your life, maybe, I don't know, but maybe, just maybe, they came into your life because it was meant to be that way. Maybe, just maybe, this was the part of the journey. Do you understand now? All of a sudden, you're starting to see your path. You're starting to see your life, and you're starting to understand it. Now, if it does happen, you shelve it. You don't even think about it anymore. And you decide that you're going to stay with this woman. But yes, you've got this thought that something can go wrong. But you still continue doing it because it feels right. And you love the person that you're with, and you couldn't even think about meeting somebody else because right now is beautiful. So I don't see that, but I don't know what will happen and what will change. So can I look a bit deeper into this? Why has this happened? Could be finances, but why? She's become stronger. She's starting to love herself. So she's wanting somebody else. She's wanting somebody stronger. So it wasn't actually me who was leaving her. No, she was probably ready to go herself. So now all of a sudden, from the first scenario, we've got a lot more information. So now we make a choice. Well, do I want to be with her if she's going to leave me? Because I just thought that it was me leaving her, but actually it's the other way around. So do I still want to be with her? This is what I see. Do you want me to look in more depth into anything else? No, actually, you've answered all my questions. So now I need to go back and make a decision. Remember, all of this could be wrong, but this is what I see. Okay. So the person leaves and goes out and sits down and thinks about this and says, you know what? I love this person. I want to be with her. And if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But I have a story. And if this story starts to play out, then I am not only prepared, I'm ready for it, but I'm also probably going to go and tell the person that I'm going to be with and have a child. And I'm going to tell her that I went for a reading, because a lot of people do that. And they may play the tape back, because I used to let people record. And they both sit down and think about it, and they make a decision whether they stay or they don't stay together. And most of the time, to my understanding, on a circumstance like this, a situation like this, the outcome is that they smile and say, well, we love each other, let's see what happens. And knowing what they know, they may come back in 2 years and say, you know what, Mark, everything that you said was absolutely bang on to the dates of what happened. But because we understood that and we heard it, we accepted it, it made it easier for us to understand each other, grow, and I became really happy, even though we split up. And she was really happy because she found her strength, and her new partner, who was a very powerful guy, and she became a lion. It all worked out lovely. So you see, you can look at the cards in any way you want. You can interpret what I've just said in any way you want. You can see it as an evil and nasty and awful thing, or you can see it in an absolutely lovely way. I read for my clients because I wanted to make them feel better, but I also wanted them to have an understanding that would help them and not make them feel bad, not make them feel awful, nervous. There were times when I would look at my client and help them with understanding themselves. And sometimes it's hard to see yourself, and sometimes you don't want to hear the truth. I had a reading once with Dodie Hamilton, and Dodie's a brilliant reader. And Dodie said to me, you and your wife are not going to be together. She's going to leave and you're going to have to separate, and you're both going to go to different parts of the world for certain reasons. And then you're going to split up after that. And it was kind of like, oh my God, like me split up from Susie? Okay. What a cow. What a nasty bag. What an awful person saying that. That's never going to happen. And she's a horrible reader. Okay, that's what you get, right? I said it, and I was a reader too. Deep down, you know. You don't want to know. I remember doing a ritual. It was very powerful. There were 53 people in the room. Started at 7 o'clock. And everybody was sat in darkness, and the room was prepared, and I began the night. Halfway through the night, I turned one of the cards over for the next client to come into the circle. And this card came up. And I felt the card and thought, this person who's coming to me is either going to split up or is about to split up with somebody. Not seeing anybody in the chairs, not knowing who it was. Guess who it was? Yeah, it was my wife. It was Susie. So I had to sit there and cleanse and heal and clean her, knowing that Dodie was absolutely right. Susie, about 6 months later, China wanted to become a professional fighter, and the only place she could fight, learn to fight, and learn to be a fighter was England. That meant she had to go to England, and she was only 16. So there was no alternative. I was doing my healing work and my readings, which were very successful. Susie wasn't doing so much, so it made sense that Susie said, I'll go to England with her and stay with her. It's a 2-year course. So when China turned 18, me and Susie ended up splitting up. So Dodie was right. She was bang on. Now, the question is this. This is the question you need to ask yourself. Was Dodie right in saying what she said? Blatantly, powerfully, in your face. No other words than just that. Or could there have been another way? Could there have been a different way of putting that? What I learned from readers was valuable lessons. Another valuable lesson was from another reader. I sat with him with my daughter at the time. And Barry Lee said, your wife's not your soulmate. In front of my daughter. And my daughter was only young and she started crying. It was the beginning of my work. I got up and I was furious. Not only did my daughter hear that, and he was blatantly doing it, and there wasn't a thought about how he came across, especially with a young girl, daughter, being sat there, knowing now that she heard that, you know, her dad is not the soulmate of her mother. And how stupid was I to bring my daughter over to sit with me, even though I didn't. She just ran over from her mum because we were at the show together. And she just sat there. So it was difficult for me to shoo her off because it was mid-flow. But he never saw and never had the inclination or the wisdom to not say anything till she'd gone. But also I learned a valuable lesson. And that valuable lesson, even though it hurt and it was real, is that there was no solutions. There was no way that any of these people were able to help me along that journey to make that point an easy point. Now you could argue the point that because he told me, then he's making it easier for me. I didn't see that. I saw anger and upset and frustration. So when you are at a point of reading for somebody, knowing they're splitting up with somebody else because you can see it in the cards, ask yourself, who do you want to be? Do you want to be the Dodie Hamilton? Do you want to be the Barry Lee? Or do you want to be you? The person that feels with empathy, that looks for solutions, that brings about a deeper understanding of the journey of why you're here and why you came together. So what was the journey of me and Susie coming together? Well, we had a beautiful girl called China. She was equal to me when we decided to leave England and come to Spain. She had the same dream, same crazy notion just to leave and sell everything and go. Pretty powerful stuff, eh? And we came here and we did many things together and we had some great times together, and she honored my path, my new path. She accepted it. All the women coming to me for readings and healings, she accepted it. No jealousy, just accepted it. A good wife. What I'm trying to say is, why should it be painful? Why should readers make things painful for people? Why can't they make it loving, kind, and give them options. The question you're probably saying is, was it inevitable that we were going to split up? No, it wasn't. Even though that they said that, I could have said, we're still staying together. We could have still worked at it. We could have still tried. See, what's the outcome to this? If we'd have stayed together, we might not have been happy. Isn't that worse? But the outcome was the agreement, the solution, the resolution, the understanding that we've changed and we're different people. And actually, we've got a lovely journey ahead, and we can still be friends, and we can help each other continuously. And all of a sudden, this doctrine, this dogma of marriage or divorce or disappears if you can change the way you see things and change and help the way your client sees things. So what makes an amazing reader, in my opinion, is to help them come to terms with all aspects of their journey. That's how I see it. And that's what I'd hope that you would become. A most amazing reader who changes the dogma, the religion, the belief systems into something beautiful, something powerful, and something new that the system doesn't want you to be. There are times when a card will present itself, whether it falls on the ground, and often this happens, it turns the other way around. So you can read quite clearly this way, and then all of a sudden, you'll turn the next card over and it will do this. Some people ask the question, is that relevant? At that point, I'll say again, it will only be relevant if it's relevant to you. You are the master of the reading at that time. You are the navigator. You are the inspiration. You are the power. You are everything. You are the channel. You make the decision at that moment whether it feels right or whether it means nothing. And how do we know that point exists? Over the years, I've realized that something is relevant when you feel it. It can't be written down again. It can't be explained. It's a feeling. It's an overwhelming feeling of knowing that that card has relevance to something. Those two cards that you've taken, you know, like when you let somebody choose a card and they take two, oh, I need these both. Sometimes it has no relevance. There's just two cards there, they got stuck. There might be no relevance in that. So it's got to be you that is the controlling factor to the session. It's got to be you that finally makes that choice and decision whether it feels right. Not the card, not the cards, or not the way it's turned, because then you're reliant on a symbolism or something that happens like that. I think you're more powerful than that. I really do. I mean, you guys are here, you're more powerful than that. You take control in the sense that you listen. If the card means something because it's the other way around, it will mean something and you will say it. But not everything is set in stone. Okay? So I hope that means something to you. Okay, guys, what I'm going to do now, please honor this, and that is we've got, I think, half an hour, and I did say I'd do this, but sometimes it can be a little bit distracting when somebody starts going into personal stories. I want you to keep it short and sweet and to the point, right? Now I've spoken to you and shared my truth, the in-depth, real reason why we do this journey, which is the most important thing. You know the cards, you understand them. However, there may be a question you might want to ask. Please keep it to the point. The point is, this is the question, please answer it. Don't go into your life story. Don't tell us what readings you've done of other people. Don't make it personal, just to the point. So I'm going to ask you 2 minutes. We'll allocate each person to the question, and then we move on, and I'll try and answer that one. Because there are how many people are on now? There's 20 people on. So 2 minutes, 20, that's 40 minutes. So try and keep it to the point. So I'm going to go right to the start, and I'm going to, I want you to hold your hand up if you have a question. Just have a think about it. After what we've just talked about, has anybody got a question? I know there's a box at the side that people have been typing into. Maybe somebody wants to type in there a question. Just a question, perhaps. Daniela, okay, let me just find you, Daniela. Let me see where you are. Or do you want to unmute yourself, Daniela?
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Daniela. How did it feel this past hour?
Oh, just wonderful. I mean, you know, obviously you're aware I've been doing this for a while now, doing this for a while, but you never know everything. There's still so much to learn, and it's a never-ending journey in that sense, you know, and I've kind of had these moments where I thought, teaching, perfect timing that you bring that up, and then you carry on and I'm like, maybe I'm not ready for this yet, you know, just that kind of thing. But the main, you answered so many of the questions that have been going around in my head, but how do you deal with clients who have come back to you and said, you got it wrong?
Yeah, that's always a challenging thing, because ego is an awful thing. The other day, I was with a friend called Lynn, and we were near Gibraltar, and we went downstairs, and basically I said, when she told me what her husband was doing, I said, it's crazy, and it's going to send you insane, and it's too much, and I don't think it's a good move. And that was a bunker, right? And I went to see this bunker, and it was filled with, you know, everything that needed to be in the bunker. And I said, I got it completely wrong, didn't I? And she said, yeah, you did. She said, you did. I said, I bloody did. I said, I think this is a wise move. Now, let me finish this. I left the house and drove away. And I thought to myself, if there is a 20-minute warning, like in whatever country, there was a warning not so long ago about missiles, and it gave everybody 20 minutes to find somewhere to hide. Okay. If they go down into that bunker and the missiles do land, and then they come out after 2 years and there's nothing here, was I wrong?
Absolutely.
So I don't know whether I'm wrong or right at any given moment. What I do know that is this: there's been many a times that people have said, oh, Jesus Christ, Mark, you got it wrong. And then came back to me and said, I'm sorry, you weren't wrong at all. And sometimes my issue was timing. I have never been good with timing. My timing sucks when it comes to reading. So I learned to stop with the timing, but I couldn't help it. I just used to say it could be, and sometimes the timing was bang on. And to be honest, more times than not. And like you, Daniela, I know that if you do, say, 2 or 4 readings in a day, every day for 6 months, if you look at an average of those readings, you'll say, and I'm sure I'm right, the accuracy would be about 80%. Where I kind of draw the line is, if my accuracy was 50% and lower, then I think it's time to stop, because I'm not getting this right. And I see this like exercise. I'm learning every day, and I'm understanding every day. I was actually looking at a friend of mine called Alex, and Alex said to me, is he right for me? And as I read the cards, this was at the beginning, like I said, what I'm trying to teach you guys now is not to do what I did back then. And I said, well, it's not really, not too good, really. It doesn't really look too good, really. Not really is very, very good. Kind of. Okay, so they stayed together, they had a baby, and now they're divorced. I was trying to say to you guys this past hour and a half that, what did you get it wrong or did you get it right? Was it wrong or was it right? It was right at the moment and then it was wrong, or it was wrong at the moment and then it was right. So I really, really find it difficult to really come to terms with understanding that without ego and without being deluded. So am I going to be wrong? Yeah, of course I am. I'm going to be wrong. I'm going to make mistakes, but I'm going to try my best to get it right. So therefore, if I'm going to get it wrong at some point, and I may get it wrong, so if I'm going to get it wrong at some point or may get it wrong, then I have to see this as, okay, then do your best. And I can't 100% guarantee any of this, but this is what I see today. But it could be wrong, but I don't know. So is there anything in this reading at all that resonated with you? And if I could be wrong, then could you change the outcome so it's not wrong? So point being, and I've heard this from Spirit before, maybe you change the outcome of something that you predicted, that they changed because you predicted.
Right.
Weird. It gets weird.
Yeah.
We are trying to, like you, Daniela, like me, we kind of go deep. We spend days at looking at things, always coming back to us. But maybe that's not what this is about. Maybe that's not what it's about. Maybe we are coming across, or we're looking at this in a completely different way. We're looking at old school, we're looking at how we should do it and how we shouldn't do it. And maybe it is what it is, the way it is, and whatever we're doing has an outcome to a certain circumstance or point that we didn't really know. We don't really have the answer. I mean, there's been many a times, Daniela, I've looked at stuff and think that's just blown me away because of all the sequences of what happened to take it to where it got to. So I stopped beating myself up about it by doing this. I ain't going to guarantee nothing. If you've heard that I give readings and I do good readings, then that's what you've heard. I'm not saying that I do. All I'm saying is I'm just going to share what I see, and that's all I can offer. That's all I can give. I'm not saying I'm here to tell you that I know your future and I'm going to predict it. I'm just here to just show you what I'm showing you. And that's a lot easier for me because there's no ego. There's no point in fact that they say you got it wrong. You know what? There it is. This is what I'm willing to offer. I can't. Nobody can promise 100% of anything. We're not gods in that sense. We're just capturing glimpses of futures that we see, and we try and interpret the way we do because of our limited experience. I don't know if that's made any sense, Daniela.
Perfect. Absolute perfect sense.
Well, thank you, and keep being amazing.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else want to ask a question? Let's have a look. Anybody else? Any questions? Just unmute yourself if you want to ask a question, guys. We'll go one at a time.
Yeah. Hi, good evening, Mark.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing absolutely fine. Um, Let me just tell you one thing, that coming across your YouTube channel actually changed my life for better. And I think it was the way, as you said, it should happen. It will happen because it should happen. So I took up your tarot course. But I have a question that when you're reading for someone very close, you know certain details and that bias plays out. How do you try to avoid that bias?
It's a great question, because I used to read for my wife when I was married, and she'd come up to the room and she'd sit down, and it was weird because I had to separate my Mark Bajerski married to Susie to somebody who was completely and utterly void of this relationship. So I would be reading as somebody reading for somebody who was a stranger. Now, it's possible, it can be done. The only sad part about it is when you're reading for somebody that you're trying not to be personal, you're realizing you're saying the guy that you're with is a bit of a idiot. He's a stubborn old mule. He's not romantic anymore. He's frustrated. It's like, oh, but you know what? That makes a brilliant reader, because you're not influencing the cards. You're not influencing this reading. You're just reading. You are not getting involved. You're not becoming personal. And that is like a healing session. Whoever lies down on a healing bed, for me, I do not take it personal. I don't care about their life. I don't care about what's wrong with them. I'm just doing a healing session. And I know it sounds really, really horrible. What do you mean you don't care? You've got to care. If I care, I am pouring out the wrong energy that comes from me, and I am channeling an energy that comes from source. It's the same thing with reading tarot cards. If you pour your energy into it because you're too close to them, you're going to get it wrong. But if you step back and say, I have got nothing to do with this reading other than just to read, then I don't get my mind kicking in on my heart kicking in. I'm just totally downloading and channeling. So that's how I did it. That would be the only way I can say. I simply get out of the way and do the job without any thought of that personal connection. Does that make any sense?
Yes, but I feel that there is a fear of getting the not so wanted answers from the tarot cards. If it's a good answer, then you'll be fine. But when it is like trying to detach from it. But but there is still a fear in me. I think I will have to work on.
That's right. There's always fear within us when we don't want to, like, the first thing I always used to say to people, and you already know this, I only see life, I don't see death. That's why I'm not interested. I did it once and I didn't like it, even though the outcome was good. There was no like pride, ego, happiness, joy. And she did survive, actually. She survives to this day and she lives a happy life. Did that make me feel good? No, it didn't. And I said to myself, I'll never do that again. So I'm not interested, because we all have a life, we all live, we all die. What makes anybody, who gives anybody the right to say, yes, you're going to survive? What get you know, let's look at what you can do to live an extra day longer. Let's see how we can prolong your life. Even mine, prolong it now. Sounds better than saying, oh, let's see if you're going to live or die. Come on. It's the same with relationships. Let's see if you're going to split up or not. How about let's see if we can make this relationship work for as long as it can in a happy way every day, so you're not sad and angry. There's a difference if you're in a relationship and it's abusive and you want to get out, then you're going to start looking at ways of trying to make this happen. But at the same time, you're going to say why this person is abusive. Why is he upset? So then you can see what the reason is. And sometimes when you start to realize what the reason is, you can then move forward in a way that doesn't make you sad and upset and angry and fearful. And a lot of the times it's never anything to do with you, but yet women who are being abused always feel as if it's their fault, and then they stay with a partner because they feel they want to fix it, or they can't go, or they're fearful. So again, bringing or finding resolution by way of strengthening your client, by making them feel good and happy, should be ultimately the number one thing. But by making them feel like they can walk out of that door and they have tools, they have understandings that are able to help them along the journey. That's what a card reader is. That's what a card reader should do. Here, sit down, here's lots of info, take that, digest it, and use it now. Because most of the people who come to you are lost. They don't know what to do, where to go. Well, yeah, that's going to happen. That's not going to happen. And what's that going to do? What's that going to do? It's not going to make the person feel better when they leave. You want to try and give them information to strengthen them, give them tools on their journey so they can create and make good their life. Give them the strength to be able to say, okay, now I'm ready to go, but I'm ready to go because now Mark's given me, or Danielle has given me all of these things that are going to help me move forward. She's given me, okay, this is where you could go. This is what you could do. This could be your new journey. This is your new job. This could be your new partner. This could be, okay, you give them tools. You give them the strength to move forward. Not, he's not good for you. He's not, forget about him. Don't even be with him anymore. Just leave him. And is that it? Is that the best you can do? No, that's not who we are. We're more deeper and powerful than that, because we look for things that people can say, you know what, that was a life jacket, what I just received then. That was like me being on a ship and I felt like I was going to get wrecked, and the guy just grabbed the ship and helped me to the shore, and now I'm okay. That's how a reading should feel at the end of it. But yeah, fear is a big thing. I'm not sure if I have answered that question, but like I said, don't become personal with anything and look deep and find solutions. And that takes time. That takes effort. That's like going to a gym and exercising a muscle. You've got to keep doing it until you become an expert, become absolutely attuned to finding resolution. I hope that helps.
A lot, Mark. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody with a question? Please unmute yourself and just speak. No? Okay.
Hello. I have a question.
Hi, how are you?
Hello, I'm great, thank you. So I don't understand exactly when the client should not interfere with the reading, because you said that they should not ask questions and when you are doing the reading, but if they don't ask the question, and I don't know whom I'm reading for and what they came for.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the whole point. The whole point is to become a master reader. If you're asking the question all the time, then all you're doing is becoming a questions and answer reader. What you do is just allow them to just be and to listen. And then you turn your card over and start to read. So like for you now, I would just say to you, okay, if you just allow me to start reading, I have no idea who you are and what you do and why you've come, right? But when you are attuned to your cards, you'll feel. So if I'm reading for you, I would say at this moment in time, it's a perfect moment for you to heal yourself and untangle your webs. At the moment, it feels a little bit dry. Your life feels a bit dry, like you need more water. You need to feel, you need to breathe more. You need to be outside. You need to heal yourself. And there's a magical energy around you. And I see a beautiful, infinite energy around you, and a beautiful number 8 that is resonating within you and around you. All the cobwebs need cleaning away from you. So there's a stagnant energy around your body at the moment that needs cleansing. So you need to heal, you need to eat healthy, you need to look after yourself and your mind. Everything that brings you to where you are right now that I see is because of your actions and how you feel and think about your journey. So you are the master of your next 10 months. And I see that your mind becomes more powerful. You become more clear about your journey. And I can see you're looking at your life, wondering what you should do, where you should go. I see that, but I see the light within you, and you are the one to make the decision of what happens. So October is also a wonderful month. I see tears that you've cried over other people in these past 9 months. I feel the pain. I feel all that you are, and I see you're becoming stronger for it. You are a warrior. I see strength in pain. I see outcome as positive. And this is how I would continue doing the reading. So how I would see you would be how I see them through the cards. You have not come for a reading for specific things in the first 40 minutes. You've just come to listen to what I've got to say. After that, you can ask what you want. That is how I read. I am only sharing with you how I read. How you read can be completely different. But let me tell you this. How you read today may be completely different how you read tomorrow. So every day, in my humble opinion, is a day that you get into that car and you learn new different things from each button. You learn to drive it differently. You learn to relax more. You learn to do different things. So I'm not here to tell you how to read. I'm telling you how I read now. But I used to do many different things to get to where I got to. The most powerful readings for me was when I said, don't tell me who you are. Don't tell me why you're here. Just let me read. When you can get to that point, I promise you, your confidence and everything will be powerful, and every reading will be amazing. I don't know if that helped or not, but
yes, it does. Thank you.
That's my answer.
Thank you.
I used to get into questions and answers, and it drove me insane because I used to think, just let me read, because you're going to get it all answered in there, because you answer everything yourself when you're listening to the reading. So as I'm reading for you, you're answering, you're putting everything into the boxes, into how you want it to go and where you want it to go. Okay, that makes sense to what I was going to ask him. I say this with my hand on my heart. I used to get this said to me all the time. I've got all the questions here on this piece of paper, but you've answered them all. Now that's a good reader, right? So that's my answer to you today. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
And you will find that you will mold yourself into a position of great energy work and healing work and psychic work. Time, effort, work, and eventually you'll just be a master at what you do. And that comes in time. It isn't given to you. It isn't read. It isn't shown. It's something that you do. And that's why I say practice makes perfect, and you will find your comfort zone and you'll find your great power in whichever way you decide to read. Do not listen to Mark. Listen to you. You are the higher source of truth, power, and intuition. I am just giving you ideas. From that, you make your decision what feels right and what doesn't.
Thank you, Mark.
You're most welcome.
By the way, I love your crystals.
Oh, thank you very much.
Love your Moldavite.
Yeah, I've got them all in this room, everywhere. I've got they're just everywhere. I've got crystals. They're all over. I'm working on. Yeah, I love my crystals. I love my life. But yeah, back to tarot. So we'll just have a look if there was any more questions. While we're here. Hello. Oh, you're still there. Good. Sorry, something else popped up. Anybody else got any more questions, guys? We've still got about 10 minutes. Anybody else would like to ask a question? Alan, are you still there? Steve, any questions? Steve?
No, I'm good so far.
Everybody's good so far. This is incredible.
Hi, Mark.
I'd like to ask a quick question.
Right, hang on a minute. Okay, you first. Fire away.
Oh, I don't know if it's, I'm assuming that might be me.
Yeah, fire away.
Yeah. Hi, Mark. Hi, everyone. I had a quick question. I think maybe relates to a little bit beyond the cards. And I'd be interested if you had any experience in this. So doing a reading, I will sort of start to tune beyond the cards, where I can feel feelings and emotions from, you know, the person I'm reading for. So my question sort of relates to how much information do we go, and using our discernment in giving this to our clients. We've sort of talked a bit about clients who are sort of forcing an issue and maybe feel that they're not always getting the information they want. But do you have any advice on how to deal with the clients who maybe feel overwhelmed with the amount of information and detail that you can go into when you do the reading? I hope that makes sense.
It makes total sense. It makes all the sense in the world, because like sometimes there's so much information, it's hard to digest. One of the things that I always recommended was writing things down, or I asked people to bring a recorder, so then they could go away and sit down and listen to the recording over and over and over again. They always asked me if I could let other people listen to it. I said, I have no issues with anybody recording anything that I say. I do this from a pure heart, out of love, and that's it. But yeah, I heard in the question that you're an attuner, so you feel energy. That's one of the first things that I used to do, place my hands over my clients and feel their energy. The reason why I did that to begin with is I wanted to feel if there was any issue in their body, if there was something that may be a concern that, and this was a massive part of my reading, was the first 5 to 10 minutes. So I asked them for their hands, they put them down on the desk. I would then get my hands and lay them on top of theirs, but not touching them, just slightly over their hands like that. So I'd put both my hands there and I just close my eyes and I'd feel my body. So I would, again, this isn't intention, this is exactly what my body would say to me. So I became like a garage would plug into a machine, a car, and they would get a diagnostic on their computer. I would be the computer which would diagnose the client. So if I get any pain or anything like that, I'd say, okay, I've got a slight pain in my left knee. Oh, Jesus, I had an operation last week in my left knee. How did you know that? I can feel it on my body because I'm feeling their feelings. Now, physical was mainly the thing I'd go to, right? I'd be looking for physical. However, there'd be trauma involved. So I'd be feeling their trauma. What was the issue of the trauma is one thing, but what is the solution? Find the solution to the trauma. So I would say, oh, I've got like, and all of a sudden I'd see something like it would be a flower. And I'd say, oh, I see this flower. And then they'd write it down and they'd say, you know what that flower is? That flower is specially for the liver. That flower is specially for the heart and the physical heart issue and so and so. So the cards are one thing, but you can also interpret the same as a card. So imagine you're a card and you put your hand over somebody and you just look at the card and you see what you see and feel. And sometimes you'll feel something in the body. So you see something, you'll feel something in your body. And that's where you say, oh, I just got a bit of a pain here in my stomach. Oh my God, Mark, I've had terrible stomach pains. And then they'd say, is there any solution to the stomach pains? So you might put your hand over them and look again or turn a card over. Nothing is set in stone, nothing. And I think for me, a reading is given out of love. And if you give it out of love, then what they receive is what they receive. How they interpret that, how they go away and deal with that is their journey. They came to you, so that's their responsibility. Hang on, you came to me, I didn't come to you. So now you have to deal with this responsibility. So good luck. This is what I offer you. And even if you offer them loads, then it's better than offering them nothing. I'd rather it be that way around than the other, right?
Sure.
Don't stop. You're doing a great job. I can feel it. You're brilliant. And you're very attentive and kind and caring. And I can feel your respect for your client. I can feel it. You're very hesitant about hurting them in any way. You've got a good foundation. You're a good, kind soul. So you're doing everything right. That's what I feel from you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for your answer.
Yeah,
Cheers.
most welcome. And there was somebody else who asked a question as well. Another lady.
Hi, Mark.
Hi.
Ariana.
Ariana, how
Thank
are you?
Thank you so much for doing this. Oh, I don't think I turned on my camera. I wanted to show you your babies. They're saying hi to you. Can you see
Oh,
them?
wow. That's a big one.
I only use your tools. I have your oils, the inciensos,
I hope they
everything.
work well. I hope.
And I only used this, the same cards, right?
Brilliant.
I got them from you.
Brilliant.
So my question is, I stopped reading. In 2020 was my spiritual awakening, and I started, and then I had a, how can I say, self-esteem issues about charging people, and I struggled with that, and I decided to stop. But my question about the cards specifically, when I was reading, sometimes my eyes were pulled to the symbols and astrology symbols and the runes, and I don't know the meaning. How do you think knowing more about those symbols in the cards, a reading could be more accurate? I don't know, somehow. However, I want to highlight the cards were 1000% accurate. They never fail, never. Even when I was doubting myself, I always wanted to follow what I learned from your class when I took the course, and I just went with the flow. I just did it. I just felt the cards, always trying to feel the cards, and that never failed, even when I doubt myself, because it was, my beginning. So do you think is that gonna change something? Just knowing the meaning of the runes and the symbols? I don't know.
I don't know really, because I was kind of quite stubborn in the way I was. So for me, I felt that the cards were fine and I didn't need to, I had the actual opposite feeling. When I realized something was working, I didn't want to ruin it or spoil it, which meant that when people were coming to me with different information, I'd say, don't tell me, I don't want to know. I've got it right. Everything's fine. I don't want to know. And I want to protect what I'm doing right. Because if you put too much into things, you can dilute it down so it's not as potent and powerful. So I think if you just said to me it was 1000% accurate, then I wouldn't worry about all the symbols and all the other things. All that is the mind wanting more and trying to grab more, where really, if it's accurate and you're doing a good job, then why break something that's not broken? Why go hunting for something that may, in truth, be a downer and rather than an upper? Because it's not always the case that you're always looking to find enlightenment out there that actually can bring you to a worse place. Do you know how many people go and do one course after the other course, after the other course, after the other course? And I used to stop people and say, when are you actually going to do anything? Well, I am doing something. What are you doing? I'm doing another course next week. What are you going to do after the other course? Doing another one. So really what you're here to do is just do courses. No, I want to be a psychic reader. Well, when do you start? When I do another, I've just got one more course to do. I've just got another course to do. Well, that's not reading. So reading is getting down and doing it, right? There comes a point where you say enough is enough. You've talked about writing a book all your life. Why don't you just stop and write the book? Same with tarot reading. Just do the readings and that's it. Now, this is really important. The reading for people and charging. This is utmost important that we resolve this right now. I'm going to ask you all a question, and I want you to be honest with me. We're going to tackle this money situation now. I'm going to tell you something now that absolutely changed my life and understanding about money. I was with Susie for 20 years. In those 20 years, we both used to say, we can't afford. We used to say so many times that you would be sick of us. You wouldn't even want to be out with us. Oh, we can't afford that. We don't have that money. So we can, sorry, darling, we can't buy that. We don't have the money. Sorry, we don't have the money. Okay. When I split up with Susie, there was nobody to say we can't afford. At that moment, I started to make a lot of money. That was an understanding to me. That wasn't coincidence. It was never me saying we couldn't afford. It was me reaffirming what Susie used to say. Therefore, that is something you need to bear in mind. Without you even knowing, sometimes you will say to yourself, ah, they're rich. Well, as soon as you say they're rich, what you're saying is you don't like the fact that people have got money, yet you want to be successful and you want to have money to be able to pay for your food and pay for certain things. So there's a direct conflict there you need to resolve. First thing you need to resolve, all of you, is that money is not a bad thing. It is an energy. It's a piece of paper. That's all it is, nothing else. Don't start to use other people as a way to say money is bad. Oh, well, he's rich, he's bad. Stop that. Take that out of your mind now, because that's not healthy and it's not going to make you successful in the way of making money to feed your children and pay the mortgage and pay your way. Maybe you don't want it. Good, fine, no problem. But this has something to do with charging. There is this old analogy, this old understanding, this old dogma, this old religion that says that you are gifted, so you shouldn't charge for the gift. That's utter BS. It's nonsense. We are all gifted. All you're doing is charging for your time. Everybody charges for their time. And if you don't want to charge for your time because somebody's just passed away into the spirit world and somebody's come to see you and they're crying, they're upset, you're not going to charge them. Of course you're not. But if somebody comes to you for a reading because they just want some resolution to certain things, factors, they just want to ask some questions and feel better, when they've left, they give you a big hug. Thank you very much. That was beautiful. How much do I owe you? Then you're happy in charging them. However, your issue is how much do you charge them? So write this down on a piece of paper or in your mind now. Okay. Would you, after 1 hour of really finely attuning to this work, which takes a lot of energy, just like getting up and digging a hole in the ground, it takes a lot of energy. It's the same energy, okay? That's why you're exhausted sometimes. So after 1 hour, if somebody comes to you and says, how much do I owe you for that 1 hour beautiful healing session? What would you say? Would you say that €1, that was worth €1? Was it worth €1? Just ask yourself, was it worth €1? Okay. Now ask yourself this question for the same person who came for the same reading. And they said, how much do I owe you? And you said to them, €1,000. Would you say that was worth €1,000? So your answer there would probably be, no. And the other question is, yeah, it was worth €1. So you're definitely worth something because you've just said you're worth €1. So at what point do you think you're not worth €2 or €3? Are you worth €4? So you're now trying to understand what the point of this conversation is. It's not about the money, it's your worth, right? So what are you worth? What is your time worth? Okay. there's also other factors. So now we've established that you're worth either €1 or 1,000. So we've got to find out where that happy medium is. Now, for this person here, say this lovely angel, she works every day and she's got one child. She has to bring her child up and feed that child every day. She has rent of £700 a month to feed her child, feed herself, and she's got a dog. So she has to feed the dog, okay? That €1 that you happily accepted ain't going to feed her. So now she has a choice whether she's going to do the readings, because if she does it for €1, she's not going to be able to afford to live. So she can't do the readings and she'll go and find another job. But actually, I'd like to do this full time and I want this as a job. So now you have to say, okay, so how much do I need to be able to pay for me and my child and my dog and my €700? Well, how many readings can I do in a week? Well, let's say you can do 2 readings a day or 3 readings a day. So if I do 3 readings a day and charge €75, or I charge €200, yeah, I could easily afford 3 reads, €600 a day. Wow, I'd be rich. So maybe not that. Well, what if we said €25 or £25? Well, that's 75 a day times that 75 by 5 days. Okay, I could just about manage that. So I can charge 25. So now you're justifying charging 25 by your food and by your mortgage. Okay, that's how you're trying to justify it now. And it's more of a justification because of your living situation and because you want to do the job. So there's many factors you can factor in for charging. But I want to leave you on one note for this particular point. The first time I went to the Mind, Body and Spirit Festival, I set my stand up and I was all ready and excited. I hadn't even thought about how much to charge, but the stand cost me €150 for the day. So I started looking around at everybody else's stand and I saw 70, 60, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 25, so on. So I thought, okay, I'm not like all of these people. They're all famous. They're all doing really well. I'll charge much less. So I put a price up of €10 for 15 minutes. I stood there very excited thinking, what a brilliant price. I'm happy at that. You know, if I get €15 and somebody comes for 15 minutes, I'm happy. So somebody walks past 2 women and they looked at me and they said, oh, what a beautiful stand. Isn't that beautiful stand? Oh, how much does he charge? €15. Oh, it can't be any good then. I overheard this and thought, oh God, okay. So I pulled the price off and I put, okay, 15 minutes, €35. Put the sign back up, stood there, 2 other people walked past very quickly and looked, said, oh my God, I can get it a lot cheaper than that, and walked past. So now I'm all over the place. Whoa, what do I do? So I sat down, I just relaxed and thought, what are you going to be happy with, Mark? Forget your client. What's going to make you feel happy? So I put €25. Because I was happy with my price, I started getting one client after the other. And I got so busy that I was booked up within the first 2 hours for the 2 days. That's my answer to that. I started this work before I went to that show by being in a little tiny shop. And I had some cards on a table and people used to pick the cards up and read free card. And they'd ask me what that card meant. And before I knew it, I was reading for them. Somebody said, you should start doing readings. So I said, okay, I'll give it a go. So then I did free readings. So people will say, what's a free reading? I say, oh, you just choose a card and I tell you what it means. Eventually, after a few weeks, months, I said, I'm not charging. I don't charge for this work, right? like you all have done probably. And then one day came, a lady said, have you heard of universal exchange? And I said, no. She said, when you give, somebody else gives back. It's called universal exchange. And it brings in self-worth. And I said, yeah, but I do it for free and I enjoy doing it. No problem, but just so you know. Okay. One day, China said, I'd like to ride a horse. And I said, I can't afford. Prior to that, I had a box, a tin, and the tin was for donkeys. And after a reading, people would say, oh, that was really nice. I'd like to give you some money. And I said, well, I've got a little tin there for a donkey. If you want to put anything in there, you can do. So they used to put money in there, and that was fine because it wasn't going into my pocket, so it didn't affect me. But then one day came and I had the courage to say, okay, I'll put another tin there. And that tin is for my daughter's riding lessons. Again, another way that didn't affect me. This is how bad I was. And then after the tin of the horse riding, came a day that I had a choice whether I gave up my shop to be a full-time reader. But to be a full-time reader, that means I have to find a little place and start reading full-time. And now that I've no longer got a shop, so I need to make money. So that's when I started charging, like I said, about 25 to start with. Then it went up to 35, then 45, then 55, then 65, then 75 for many years, and then 85, then 90, and then 120 euros was my final charging point of reading. But everybody has their own journey when it comes to self-worth, and whether they have a stigma or people telling them that you shouldn't charge for healing and readings. This is a personal journey. Whatever you want, whatever feels comfortable for you, whatever sits right with you, follow that, whatever sits right with you. If you don't want to charge, don't charge. If you don't want to do, but you know, I see it this way. I don't do it because I don't charge. Okay, well, maybe if you charge and do it, you're going to make people happy. I see people going out to a restaurant and spending 150 euros on one meal. What do they get from that? One meal is gone in a few hours. One session, if you charge 50 euros, they have that for the rest of their life. It can be life-changing. It can change their life. It can make them feel wonderful. You can't put a price on that. So don't pull this work down, and don't put no value to your work. It has more value than anything, in my opinion. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you so much, Mark. I love you.
You too. Okay, guys, I hope this 2-hour short but sweet follow-up of the tarot course, I hope, I really mean this from the bottom of my heart, I hope you got one thing from it that can help you along your journey. I hope you've got a little bit more confidence. I hope you continue this journey, and through all what we look at in life, we all make mistakes, but we look at the overall picture. Have I helped more people than that I think that I might not have helped because somebody said, oh, you didn't get that right? That's how I look at it. So I say to you all, I guarantee you the laws of spiritual statistics say that when you do this, you help far more than not. So that's my message today. I wish you all a wonderful day. Thank you for taking the time today taking the time out today to listen to the experience and what I've learned in the hard way. I've learned hard, giving you what I've given you today so you don't have to go through those experiences too much. Or if you do, then at least you'll have, again, some understanding, some solutions, and some comfort in knowing that we all go through the same things literally when we do this work. So thank you so much, guys. Love you all. Keep being amazing. Keep being fantastic. If you help one person in your lifetime, that's enough. Any more than that, and it's just a bonus. So keep being amazing, because you are. And thank you so much, guys. Love you all. Bye for now.